I reported CSA to my elder body of Jehovah's Witnesses when I was about 19 years old, and it was completely mishandled. They didn't wait for me to name the person and instead chose to send a letter to the headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses naming the perpetrator as my biological father, a man of color who had never been one of Jehovah's Witnesses before. They were in such a hurry to handle things bureaucratically and by policy that they didn't even wait for me to actually tell them what happened or to name who had done it to me. And I find that very interesting because they did in fact know the brother who had done it. And they hadn't done anything at the time about the abuse that was taking place. The only time they chose to talk with me about it was after this brother was no longer an active Jehovah's Witness anymore, no longer attending meetings, and then they were able to tell me, yes, we're so sorry that you went through all of that. But while he was active, nothing. I had explicitly told my coordinator of body of elders at the time, who was Brian Jong, that I wasn't ready to verbally talk about what had happened because it was going to be the first time ever. And instead of waiting for me to be ready and doing this in any kind of trauma-informed way where you center the victim and wait until you have complete consent, he just took it into his own hands, made up his own explanation for what happened to me, and reported it as if it was true. This is exactly why elders are not equipped to handle matters like this. On top of that, I then felt guilty for my biological father being dragged into things, the way that it made my family look, the way that it made me look, and I kind of thought twice about ever reporting something like that again. No apology, no accountability, just victimizing someone again. So we've established this pattern of falsifying documents and reports that are being sent to the headquarters because brothers do not understand how to handle trauma or reports regarding trauma. And there's a clear misogynistic pattern of not taking women seriously, not waiting for them, and men in positions of power feeling like they know best and that they can handle things the best way when in fact they're making it worse. And it's only about 3 years later that, as Brian is still the coordinator of Body of Elders, that I end up getting publicly reproved for being assaulted. Over time, in a lot of little ways, elders show themselves to be, for lack of a better word, incompetent, because they are not trained professionals. They do not really understand mental health. I was a teenager when the Watchtower for Teen Depression came out, and I was so thankful because finally I felt seen by the organization, like what I was dealing with was being put into words and I wasn't being told, oh, I'm just not faithful enough. Do you see how behind the organization is, how behind the elder bodies are when it comes to handling things the way that they should be to actually help victims? And again, have I ever received an apology for being reproved, for being assaulted? No, because they're not there to apologize to anyone. They are there to report and be little soldiers to this cult. And if you somehow don't like that, you're the goat. You're hard-headed. You're too stubborn. Your heart needs to be softened by Jehovah. Because after all, who am I, as a lowly woman, to question God's appointed men?